Hi, my name is Mark. So we're trying a little bit of a different video today. I usually do either lessons or tips and tricks, and in some of those not so often occasions, I release some of my songs, and when I occasionally buy gear, I show it to you guys. But this time, in a fashion that I think none of you would have probably guessed, I wouldn't really call this a vlog exactly, but we're going to try out a new series. Again, it solely depends on you guys. If you guys like this sort of video and you guys want to watch this sort of a thing, you can leave a like and tell me in the comment section below so that I can know if this is something you guys want to see. The idea for this sort of video comes down to every week there's a new guitar that comes out or a new pedal or something that comes up that I can only really share with my guitar friends because they're the ones who can relate to it. Have you ever tried to show your normie friend or your girlfriend or something like it about that new pedal with that new clipping system and whatever? If they don't fall asleep, they'll probably ghost you, right? But then I thought, wait, you guys are my musician and guitar playing friends. So why not share with you guys what I thought was interesting this past week? I'll try to release these videos on Wednesdays. That day they will be between the regular guitar lessons and the composing lessons. But because for you, when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about last week's news. Maybe some other people have talked about it before. And I don't necessarily want this to be a news segment, like Guitar Drama Alert or something. I just want to share with you guys whatever I thought was interesting in the music industry that I found out during this past week, and that may or may not involve some things that I've been mentioned before. Basically, if you watch Fluff's FAQ Mondays, in the final parts of the video, he does this suggestion of the week thing. Take this as not a suggestion of the week, but as suggestions of the week. But not by a majestic, full-bearded fellow, probably with not as much quality. But hey, what can we do? This was probably already too much of an intro, so let's get to the video. But before we do, I just want to say a couple of things. One, if you have any suggestions for a name we can give this series, leave them in the comment section below. And two, you're probably aware that YouTube acts a little bit weird. Even if you subscribe to a channel, those channels' videos may really not show up in our subscription box. And even if you ring the notification bell thingy below, you still really not notified that channel's content. So if you want to stay tuned to my videos, not only do I suggest subscribing and turning on all notifications, but also follow me on social media. Not only do I post some exclusive stuff there, like improvise solos and jamming cover backing tracks, and generally wherever I'm up to at the moment, but I always post there about my videos. And honestly, a bunch of things I'm going to talk about in this video, I may have mentioned before on my Instagram, so again, go follow me there. And since you're down there, please consider leaving a like and perhaps share this video on social media, I'd highly appreciate it. But getting back to the video itself, again, sorry if probably most of these videos aren't in order of when they came out. I had saved all of the links of everything I wanted to talk about in the notes app of my phone, but then for some reason that note disappeared, so I had to try and find everything I had saved before, but whatever, there ain't much we can do now. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about, again, it isn't in any particular order, but I want to talk about Ginger Baker, who is mainly known for being the drummer of Cream, and it's actually where I know him from. I should probably look up some of his back catalog or something. I can suppose that many of the people watching this video are either guitar players or probably not drummers, and I think that his death will probably be more heartfelt for drummers or like super Cream fans. And in my case, as I mentioned before, I wasn't really super familiar with Ginger's work or anything like it, but I was a big fan of Cream because when I started playing, again for those who don't know, I actually started out on bass. And not only did I start out on bass, but I started out because a friend of mine wanted to start a band, and I didn't really used to listen to music. When I started playing and I went to my first bass lesson, I remember my teacher asking me, so what sort of music do you like, which bands do you like, and whatever. And I didn't have an answer because I didn't really listen to bands nor music nor anything. And I thought, okay, since I'm going to play an instrument, it's probably better that I have some influences and I listen to music, right? So one of the first things I listened to was Chuck Barris's Johnny B. Goode because I'm a huge Back to the Future fan, and for some reason on YouTube's suggested bar of the Johnny B. Goode song, there was Sunshine of Your Love by Cream, and I started to listen to some of their other songs like Crossroads and stuff like that. And again, it's not like I was particularly interested in listening to the drums of those tracks, but because Cream were one of the bands I first started to get into, and I feel like they ended up being an influence. The fact that this drummer isn't around anymore sort of saddens me a little bit, but hey, the legacy he left behind is what important, and I can only give my condolences to his family. But if there's something we can take from this is let's go listen to Cream and all the other things he also did. Let's try not to go into an area as dark as this. Robert Plant is still alive. Okay, it wasn't probably the best joke, but hey, Robert Plant has a podcast now. Actually, he's had a podcast from around June, and to be honest, I haven't really had the chance to listen to it yet, but I think it fits in well with the topic we'd had before, because Led Zeppelin is also a huge influence on me. And I think that if we now have even though it's not necessarily Led Zeppelin content. Now that we have Robert Plant doing this sort of thing, it might be interesting to listen to, and even though I haven't really had the time to listen to it yet, don't worry, I will, and I will share my thoughts about it eventually. I want to leave it not only as a suggestion, but also if any of you have listened to it, tell me in the comment section below, and everyone else, what you think about it and if it's worth listening to or not. And talking about old rock stars kind of brings us to the next topic, which is Pete Townshend saying guitar is dead. I know we have had this discussion before, is the electric guitar dead or not? Is guitar-based music dying and whatever? And again, these sorts of news are kind of hyperbolized. I think the title of the news edit is rock music isn't dead, but guitar-based music is, or rock-based music is, or guitar-based rock is, something like it. And again, it's one of those sorts of things where people are like, oh, popular music nowadays doesn't really have guitar and whatever. And even though I can agree, and I'm not really the biggest fan of most modern music nowadays, yes, it either doesn't have guitar, or guitar isn't as prominent, or it fills a role in music that is different from the role it had before. And even though he talked about it, something that really caught my attention was he mentioned that virtuoso guitar players had basically ran out of options to what we can take guitar music next to. And even though I can see what he's talking about, I sort of have this feeling that he doesn't really listen to much modern guitar music anymore. Sure, if you take something more recent like those genty prog bands, or something like Polyphia's sort of hip-hop guitar-based music, it definitely isn't something completely original, it's based on other things. But aren't all the other genres based on other genres? Again, I'd really like to hear your thoughts about this on the comment section below. Let's talk about Polyphia, because they definitely talked about this. And again, these music-related news things are always hyperbolized and taken out of context. Like the title for this news is Tim Henson says, guitar music should die a painful death. And it's of course taken out of context, and before we get to the news itself, I think many of you will probably know this, but Polyphia definitely has this act where they act like these crazy stars, like they own the place and everything, and like they don't really care about anything, like when they do a rig rundown, even though they clearly know what they're talking about, they fake it like, oh, I don't really know, I just press buttons and whatever. So in a way it can be hard to tell in some situations if they're just following their act, or if they're actually telling the truth. And again, like all of the other things, I'll leave links for these sorts of things below, but you can easily find them. What I think he means, and again, at least trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, I think what he means is that those mindless shredding songs back from the 80s, those things aren't really listenable to, especially if you're not a guitar player, but if you play guitar, that doesn't mean you can't do guitar-based music or guitar instrumental music. Sure, it will probably not have as much reach as other genres, especially genres where the voice is the main focus of the tunes, where you can probably give it more chances of success if your songs have like basic structures and melodies, like you have a specific verse with a melody or a specific riff, or with some catchy chorus or something like it, trying to make things a little bit more diverse than just, okay, here's 8 bars of verse where I just shred over these 4 or 2 chords or whatever it is. There's nothing necessarily bad with 80s mindless shredding, but we can definitely take guitar-based music in a more melodic and song-based structure. Maybe if that sort of thing happens, maybe guitar can get more featured in these songs that are on the top charts right now. But again, that can maybe be just my interpretation, and you guys can tell me what you think about this in the comment section below. And again, because we're talking about this sort of stuff, StevieT also released a video saying why he isn't playing with DragonForce after him and the band confirmed that they were playing together. You can check out the video by yourself, but basically the moral of the story is Stevie really wanted to do it, but as the dates were slowly creeping in, he started to feel really anxious about it and thought that if he would actually do it, his anxiety would get worse. From the way he talks about it, I think he has probably suffered from it before. And it is, as I mentioned before, a big opportunity that he ended up losing by mental health problems. So even if you can't relate to that sort of a thing, the least thing we can try and do is support both DragonForce and StevieT, because as you can see in his video and DragonForce's social media, even though everybody has done mistakes before, they all seem like super nice guys. And again, like in some of the other news, as members of this music guitar community YouTube thing, let's show everybody some love and support. And since we're talking about StevieT and this YouTube stuff, there's no better segue than Jared Dines. After the success of his collab with StevieT in Gen 2019, both him and Stevie are selling their 18-string and 20-string guitars, and all of the money from those auctions will go to a charity to give guitars and other musical instruments to children, which I think is really cool from their part. Again, they didn't really need to, they just made a funny video, and those are definitely very special guitars, guitars, so the fact that they are auctioning them away and that they're giving the profits to charity only makes it more special. But at the time I'm recording this video, the guitar is already at $16,300. And again, talking about Jardine, his band Daddy Rock has released some new material. I highly suggest you go check it out if you haven't already. I especially like their River song. Again, go send them some love and support. And not only has Jared's Daddy Rock band released some new music, but also Dirty Loops have released a new song called Next to You. If you aren't familiar with Dirty Loops, they used to cover these mainstream pop songs with some extreme jazzy harmonizations, and they've been releasing some original material. Their previous song was awesome, and this one is no exception. I highly suggest you go check them out. Talking about music, Mark Lettieri has also released a playthrough of his song Point Is. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly or not, but hey, it's an awesome song. It has some fusion-ish parts and some funky parts that you can only expect from Mark Lettieri. Go check it out. Before we get to gear stuff, even though it's also gear and YouTube related, you're probably aware that last week all of Gibson's videos are not public anymore, even though now they're back and Gibson doesn't necessarily need to explain themselves. It was definitely weird, especially considering that they did it right around the time they were releasing videos about the Crossroads Festival where they had this little booth and did some interviews with players. So here I was trying to watch some of their videos, give them some views for some content that was actually interesting, and then the video is not available. Sure, it is now, and it led to a lot of controversy and some rumors about Mark Agnesi leaving the company, which he then denied and whatever. Again, I'm not really trying to bash into Gibson, but it was definitely weird. And before we finish with the YouTube stuff, Rob Chapman released a super weird video, at least I think it's super weird. Again, it's supposed to be a funny video where he makes it seem like he plays guitar under the influence of like magic mushrooms and stuff like that. I love Rob, I love his videos, I love his guitars, I love everything about them, but this video definitely seemed weird to me. Do you guys agree? Do you guys not agree? Leave me your thoughts in the comment section below. I'd really like to see what you guys think about it. And now getting into gear matter, because we are guitar players, something I want to talk about is Kirk Hammett's new version of the Ouija guitar. Again, I'll be honest with you, I've been familiar with the Ouija guitars for a couple of years now, and they always looked ugly to me. Like they were so weird, but for some reason, both these ones, either the purple or the red one, I'm not sure if it's because of the sparkle, or because the Ouija things are not black nor white, they're this sort of yellow cream-ish color. I really like them. And with I really like them, I'm not saying that I like them enough to buy one, but they're definitely cool looking. Again, what do you guys think? And since we're in the topic of signature guitars, Nick Johnston has revealed a new color for his Schecter custom shop line. It's in this orange-ish color. I don't really think that that's how they're describing it, but if you imagine red and you imagine how Fiesta red looks, and now you imagine orange, his guitar sort of looks like a Fiesta orange-ish color. Some of you will probably know I'm a big fan of Nick, and I'm a big fan of his guitars, but this one looks especially nice. Maybe it's because I'm a fan of orange, because I also like Keith Merrow's Lambo orange one, and I also really like Misha's orange ones. You guys tell me what you think. And since we're talking about new guitars, PRS has also released these limited edition, sandblasted, swamp ash guitars. And like, I don't know about you, but the first time I saw these sandblasted guitars, it was when Fender released these limited edition Strats, and I didn't really like them back then. And since then, many other companies have done this sort of look. And even though I don't really mind the yellow one, I don't really like any of these. I thought PRS were doing great with these SE limited editions like the stealth black ones and those jean colored ones. And previous to these sandblasted ones, we had the roasted maple neck ones. But these sandblasted ones, I just don't really like them. Do you? And since we're talking about new guitars that I don't like, let's take a look at Ernie Ball's Mariposa. It looks like a mix between the Albert Lee model and the St. Vincent model. Because I'm a huge Albert Lee fan, I can't stop looking at his signature guitars. I'm like, I don't like it, but it's probably like a 6 out of 10. But then when the St. Vincent came around, I was like, oh hell no. Sure, who am I to say, oh that guitar sucks. It's not my signature guitar, it's hers. So she can have whichever guitar she wants to. But I personally don't enjoy it, and I also don't like this Mariposa one. I've tried a couple of Music Man guitars, and they feel great. But for some reason, at least to me, they're sort of a hit or miss. The JPs, hell yeah. The Majesties, sort of, depends on the one. If it's the one with the shield, hell no. If it's like the gold sparkly color or the one with the flame tops, that's cool. But then you take a look at the Armada, for instance, and that V right there, it just doesn't sit well. The Cutlass is pretty cool. It's sort of stratty, but it's pretty cool. But then the Stingray has this weird pickguard, and it has a toggle switch on the upper horn. Like, the axis is pretty cool, and I know I don't exactly talk about bass a lot in this channel, but look at the bongo. But again, these are just my opinions, and I would love to hear yours. But getting back to gear that's actually cool, All England posted a video last week where, as a gift for his 38th birthday, he bought this custom shop Strat, which I can say I'm drooling about, but I am drooling about it. Also this past week, the Hudson Broadcast AP, Ariel Posen's signature version of the broadcast by Hudson Electronics, was released and it sounds sick. I'll definitely check one out if I have the chance. And something that's also pretty cool is that Chicago Music Exchange has released a couple of exclusive Gibsons, and at first it doesn't really seem like a big deal. But trust me, they usually know what they're doing about this sort of stuff. They were the ones who had these exclusive SGs in not only what I assume to be TV yellow, but also these fender colors like a shell pink sort of a thing, which I think they called coral, and this sonic blue sort of a color, and I think an army green one, which were pretty awesome. If I wasn't looking for a very specific SG, and if I didn't have to pay like 40% of the price of the guitar in customs, I would have probably gotten a pink one myself. But this time they've got some ES guitars. They show an ES335 on their Instagram, but I think I saw some other ones on the Reverb page. But they're in this sort of harbor blue color, similar to the sparkle blue that Anderton's had a couple of months ago. And again, it's one of those guitars that, one, I don't have the money for, I would have to pay customs, and taking in consideration that I already have a blue guitar and a green guitar, adding another blue one, even though I don't really mind the color blue, would feel a little bit weird. Especially taking in consideration that one of my bucket list guitars is a gold top ES355 or 354, something like it. It would basically be a mix between a Lucille with the baritone and a 53 gold top with the cream accessories. Again, not sure if I would buy this one, but it definitely looks sick. And lastly but not leastly, we have the video that nobody asked for. I still clicked it and I enjoyed it a lot more than I want to admit. Brian Wampler from Wampler Pedals released a video where he tries the Miku pedal and then he tries the Miku pedal going into itself, simulating having multiple Mikus at a time. I know, sounds dumb, is dumb, but it's beautiful. I highly suggest you go check it out. But yeah, I guess that's it. Again, thank you so very much for watching. I hope you liked this video, and if you did and want me to do more of this sort of stuff, please leave a like and tell me in the comment section below which sort of things did I miss last week. Again, this video was barely put together. I had some troubles with the camera and the audio, but I hope next time it works better. And because I can't always talk about everything or find everything that happens in the guitar industry sort of a thing, please follow me on Instagram and either tag me or DM me on stuff you want me to talk about. But yeah, thank you so very much for watching. If you leave a like, comment, subscribe, and on all the notifications. Follow me on social media, and if you can, share this video on social media. I'd highly appreciate it. Check out some of my other videos after this one. Leave a comment for my Yate series, and cheers!